We're talking with Ed Mullin. He's the executive director of Equality Ohio. This week, Equality Ohio had a big lobbying day with over 200 people coming to the state capitol to talk to legislators. So, Ed, what are your hopes for legislation this year and for years following this one?
Okay. Right now, we have two pieces of legislation that we're focusing most of our efforts on. The first is what's called the Equal Housing and Employment Act, which would add sexual orientation and gender identity or expression to our existing statewide non-discrimination law. And that passed the House last legislative session and stalled in the Senate after the election. And so we're hopeful that we can move that forward, and we expect that bill to be introduced by a Republican co-sponsor, Ross McGregor, and by Representative Nikki Antonio, who is the first openly gay state representative, state senator, or any other elected official in Ohio very shortly. And the second thing we're working on is a safe schools bill that would add training, enforcement, cyberbullying, and enumeration to our current anti-bullying law.
So it sounds like these are all great things to be working on. It sounds like marriage equality is a little bit further down the road.
Yeah, Ohio passed a constitutional amendment in 2004 that added marriage discrimination to our Constitution. And so currently in Ohio, same-sex couples cannot get married. We do not recognize same-sex marriages from other states. And it's what's called a superdoma, which means that the state cannot extend any of the benefits of marriage to same-sex couples. So that passed by a margin of about 63% in favor of that constitutional amendment in 2004. So what we're hoping with the Equal Housing and Employment Act and the Safe Schools Act is that we can get our legislators comfortable with voting for pro-equality legislation and build upon that legislation and ultimately get to marriage equality. I don't think Ohio, its legislature, particularly the way it's structured right now, is ready for that. We're very hopeful that within the next 1, 2, or 3 legislative sessions we will be able to do that. But it's a very difficult prospect with the current legislature and the current makeup of the state.
So who met with you and who refused to meet with you?
We have 132 state legislators in Ohio, so there are 33 senators and 99 state representatives, and there were 10 of that 132 that would not schedule meetings with us. So we met with the vast majority of legislators, and we did meet with all 33 senators or their aides. So we were able to have each Senate district in the state represented. I personally met with the Chief of Staff to the Senate President, who is a Republican, and had an opportunity to talk to her about both of those bills as well as some budget issues that were interesting. And we had a very good group of people speak to her. I also sort of went to some of the legislators that tend to be more difficult on our issues and was pleasantly surprised with the reception that we got, particularly from some of the aides who are a little bit younger and a little bit more forward-thinking than some of the representatives. But I think generally the tone from people at the reception afterwards and at the debriefing was that there was a general sense of pleasant surprise at the reception that we received. And we were unsure of how we would be received this year because we have about 40 new legislators. So out of that 132, 40 of them have never heard from Equality Ohio or our community before because they're new to the legislature. So we were very pleasantly surprised by the reaction.
Is there a particular argument or approach that you found has been effective in bringing people around to our side?
Well, I think with legislators in particular, different arguments resonate with different legislators. So the personal arguments resonate with a lot of legislators. When you talk about the personal stories of people being bullied, people being fired because of discrimination and things like that, that works with some legislators. Other legislators want to hear the statistics. They want to talk about the number of people that are being bullied. They want to talk about the economic impact of not having these non-discrimination laws. And then there are legislators that want to talk about the religious argument, and you have to talk to them on their own terms. And so over the years, we've sort of kept a record of what resonates with different legislators, and with the new legislators, we try to take the opportunity on Lobby Day to figure out what is important to them, and listen as much as we talk to them. So there's a wide range of arguments, whether they're religious, whether they're economic, or whether they're civil rights based or personal based, and you use all of those tools depending on what resonates most with the legislator you're talking to.
So it sounds like there's a lot of strategy involved. What kind of time frame are we looking at for the bullying and for the non-discrimination employment bills?
Right. We are right now at the beginning of our legislative session, which lasts 2 years. And every legislative session really starts off with the budget. And once the budget is done, the legislature tends to move on to everything else. So getting the budget through is sort of the first order of business. And we're at the point now where that has gotten through the House of Representatives. So we're hopefully going to see the Safe Schools Act and the Equal Housing and Employment Act being considered by the House very soon. And we've already got testimony in the House on aspects of the Safe Schools bill going forward. And we're very optimistic that that bill is going to see a vote in the House before the end of this year or early next year. And hopefully by mid next year, we'll see both of those bills having been voted on in the House, and if they pass, in the Senate as well.
That's fantastic. Well, Ed Mullins, the Executive Director of Equality Ohio, thank you so much for speaking with us.
Thank you very much.